Hi guys, my name is Abisoye Obayan, and I'm the director of Horus Music Nigeria. Horus Music is a global music distribution company operating here in Nigeria locally and looking out for African operations. Well, Anara Publishing is a sister company to Horus Music, and we've been exploring with the work of artists within this region and in Africa. And of course, this workshop webinar is about the relationships that music distribution has got with music publishing, and is essential for the developing market here in Africa. And I would like for you guys to meet the other panelists on this panel.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Jotam Matariro. I am the Chief Executive Officer of Capasso. Capasso is a mechanical rights collecting society based in South Africa. And we also operate as a Pan-African hub for collection of digital licenses. So as Capasso, firstly, primarily, we are a society for South African members, but we also now have international members who have joined Capasso because of the fact that we have widened our scope across the continent. We are in partnership with 25 collecting society across the continent, whom we partner with to be able to collect digital royalties from across the continent. As we all know that digital royalties are licensed multi-territorially, and these partnerships allows us to be able to license across the continent. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Deborah. I'm director of Anara Publishing, which, as Abiz mentioned, is a sister company to Horus Music and Horus Music Nigeria. We handle music publishing for a bespoke roster of artists based all around the world, including Ajimovoix, who's on the call today. And yeah, my role kind of encompasses everything from registering our catalogue at places like the PROs and the mechanical rights societies, as well as looking at creative opportunities for our songwriters, thinking about collaborations and sync.
Thank you. Ajimovoix drums. I'm a music producer, songwriter, and an artist. Yes, I'm here in Nigeria, and I think that's what I could say for now about myself.
All right, interesting. Thank you, guys. We begin in this session. Well, I would like to quickly talk upon one of the reasons why it's essential for us to have these kind of sessions in the sector. Music publishing, for example, is an area of this music business where artists don't look at that much. Probably because it's really not functional in the developing market like us here, but it's essential to have an understanding of how that side of things work. So recently, we have been able to make some progress within the region in terms of music publishing, and through the help of Anara Publishing. So which is why I would like to begin with this first question. And I pose this question to Debs. So we'd like to know, what is the difference between music distribution and music publishing? Please. Debs,
yeah, I think that's a really great question to kick things off, because they're not the same thing, which a lot of people get confused with. In order to really talk about the difference between the two, we have to really think about the different types of copyright that are within a song, which we will talk about a little bit in a bit more detail further in the session. But essentially within a song that you write, there's two types of copyright. There's the master recording and there's the composition. So music distribution handles the master recording copyright side of things, whereas music publishing is all about the composition. And by that, I mean the lyrics, the melody, the beat, the kind of underlying song. And a music publisher makes sure that you're collecting money from the composition, which is additional revenue from what you get through your distributor for the song being played on digital platforms. A publisher also does some work with you creatively, looking at collaborations and sync licensing and things that we'll talk about a bit more later on. But in order to work with a publisher, we don't necessarily have to be the recording artist that's releasing music. You could be just a songwriter or a producer. By a songwriter, I mean that you've contributed to the creation of the song in any way. So you've written some lyrics or a hook or a melody or beat. Abiz, maybe you could talk a bit more about the role of a distributor in this context.
All right, thank you so much. So talking about the role of a distributor in this context, it will be a distributor can only exploit the side of the craft for the artist to the masters. So, and you know, a lot of times today, being just a distributor that can do that is not enough. You have to be able to help these artists to shop for, you know, more opportunities, especially, you know, companies like ourselves, which we have this kind of bespoke approach to the way we work as well for developing artists and promising careers. So we tend to expand the reach for the artists, which of course has brought us to why Ajimovoix is on the Horus Music Nigeria roster and as well on Anara Publishing roster. I would like to move to this next question quickly, which goes to Debs. Debs, am I able to ask you, what is a performance rights organization?
Yeah, so a performance rights organization, you might hear the term PRO a lot, is essentially a collection agency that collects income on behalf of songwriters and publishers whenever a song is performed in public. So this could be played on TV, radio, played in a shop, in a gym, bar, when you perform at a gig or a festival, or even like non-interactive streaming platforms and things like that. There are different PROs in each country. In the UK, for example, it's PRS. In Nigeria, you have COSON. And yeah, so that kind of like brings me on to my next question to Jotam, which is, what is the difference between a PRO and Capasso, which is the Mechanical Rights Society?
Thanks, Deborah. So as you explained earlier in your description of the publishing rights, you mentioned that there are different rights in terms of the right that is owned by the artist and the right that is owned by the composer, which is the musical works right. In that musical works right, there's a further division which brings out the performance of the work as well as the reproduction of the work. And mechanical rights is a word that comes from the history of how the works were being reproduced, because you needed to have manufactured a CD or manufactured a vinyl or a record for you to be able to have it in another format. So you had to create a copy of that. But with the advent of digital exploitation, now reproduction happens in all formats, including digital format. So it is basically a reproduction right, and a mechanical rights organization like Capasso looks at the reproduction of musical works in whatever format, whether be it physical format or in digital format. So everywhere where the music is reproduced, it could be reproduced for playing in musical programs on television, radio, or so forth, or reproduced, used for streaming services. It could also be reproduced for inclusion into a movie or into an advert, or even in VOD services. Wherever the music is reproduced, this is where we represent composers and authors to make sure that they are compensated for that reproduction. And we all know with CDs, to count the number of CDs, we have the platinum and so forth and so on. But now with the streaming and all that, the reproduction happens multiple times and several times even in a day. So as a mechanical rights organization, we track wherever that music is being reproduced as it gets played, because there's no longer any process separation now between performance and reproduction. So wherever it is being performed, it has to be reproduced before it gets performed. And that is what we do, and that is what we collect.
That's great. And what are the benefits for a songwriter to join a collection society in general?
So in general, for a songwriter to join a collecting society is so that they are able to collect the musical works right. Like you mentioned earlier, when the song gets distributed, the distributor pays for the sound recording, but the musical works part is distributed by a collecting society like Capasso in collaboration with all other CMOs across the continent. So a composer has got an option to either give that right to the publisher, who then joins Capasso in order to collect on their behalf, or they can join Capasso directly, depending on whether they've got the admin capacity to be able to do the administration work that is required in order to have all the metadata in order to be able to also use the reports that come with the distribution for their intelligence reports to see where the music is being used, where are they popular, so that they can see where they need to organize the next gig. So it is very important for artists, for composers to be members of Capasso, particularly if those that are both composers as well as performers, because not only will they rely on the royalty, but they also use the business intelligence to be able to see where are they popular and who likes their music, and then they can organize what they can do with their music.
That's great. And should they join with their artist name, or should it be their full legal name when they join a society?
They have to use their full legal name when they join the society, because you also need to have identification particulars, which we then need to verify before you can become a member. So when they are joining to be a member of Capasso, they've got to use full legal names.
That's great. And sort of just one final question from me for now. Even though you're based in South Africa, do you accept members from Nigeria as well?
Yes, we do. Actually, Capasso is a member. South Africa is a member of. They've signed the Berne Convention, and the Berne Convention requires that any creator of any work, be it music or any other form of work of art, has got to be treated in the same way that the local members are being treated. And in that regard, as Capasso, we follow the rules of the country and the rules that are stipulated. And anybody who has created a work are able to join Capasso directly as a member. It is up to their choice, and it is the same privilege that is given to South African members. And the membership rules are the same, whether they are non-South African or they are South African.
That's really good to know, really useful information. Looks like we have temporarily lost Abiz, so I will just carry on with talking on the next section, where we're going to sort of break down copyright in a little bit more detail for all of the artists watching. So though this isn't everyone's favorite subject, as a songwriter and an artist, you are a copyright owner. So it's really important to understand what it is and how it affects you. So just kind of to start things off, a work is considered copyrighted once it's in a tangible form. So whether that's recorded or documented in some way. And there's two different types of copyright, which we covered earlier, being the composition and the sound recording. And there could be potentially two different owners for these, depending on who is the recording artist and who is the composer and the songwriter, or more. So there could be multiple owners if you've collaborated with lots of different people to write the song. So yeah, just some other things to consider when you're thinking about copyright, which comes up quite a lot, and questions that we get asked quite a lot is sampling. So if you sample someone else's song, you are using both the composition and master recording copyright. So something that you need to take into consideration is that you need permission of whoever owns both of those things, no matter how short the sample is, whether you've altered it in any way. You still need to clear the rights to use it because it's a piece of copyright. And this is important if you're going to then use your song and try and pitch it to sync licenses and things like that. So that's one instance where understanding copyright can be really important. And yeah, thinking about maybe cover songs and things like that, you need to understand who owns the publishing rights in the song. So yeah, Abiz, we just did the question about copyright, if you want to carry on and talk about copyright ownership.
Okay, hi guys. I would like for Debs to please discuss a bit about how split agreement works, because I understand that today artists are collaborating, which is what we want. We always advise artists to collaborate, and while they're collaborating and they're happy about the moment and the session goes by, most times people don't protect their rights in within, and later maybe the song becomes a hit, and they start saying, I was on that record, there's nothing has been given to me, I've not been able to be compensated, well compensated. This is something that is common within the Nigerian music sector. So please, are you able to discuss how split agreement should work or works?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is a conversation that comes up around the world whenever we're speaking to any of our songwriters, not necessarily just in Nigeria, where, yeah, when you're collaborating with people and you're in the moment in the studio, it's not necessarily the most exciting conversation to have, to sit down and kind of decide who owns what percentage of the song. But I can't stress how important that process is. Later down the line, when you're coming to register your works with Capasso or other collection societies, or if we're trying to pitch and get a sync license for the song, as a publisher, we have to know who contributed to the song and what percentage they own in order to make sure that we can sign the license off and everyone gets paid. There's been like multiple things that come up where someone says that they own 100% of the rights, and then further down the line you find out that someone else actually has 10% of that song, and then that can make a sync license fall through or things like that. So we just really want to avoid that situation. So I always advise all of our writers to, if you're collaborating with someone else, to get those splits on some kind of paper document which has been signed. Something like a verbal agreement, a conversation or a WhatsApp conversation isn't enough, unfortunately. You can't rely on those things. So I'd always advise getting everything down on, it doesn't need to be a lengthy document, but just, enough to show the full names of all the songwriters, the percentage that they own in both the composition and the master recording if necessary, and to make sure that everyone signs it and dates it so that we've got some proof there. In terms of how you split a song, there's no real rules here, and that's where I can't really give specific advice. It's just a conversation that you need to have with all of your collaborators at the time of writing the song and come to an agreement that you're all happy with and you think is fair. Some people decide to just split it equally. So if there's 4 of you, you have 25% each. Others kind of decide it depending on the contribution. So if you've written all of the lyrics and most of the beat, then maybe you take, a bigger percentage. There's someone who's just added a few bits here and there. But yeah, maybe the best thing is just to kind of have like an open, honest conversation with whoever you're working with at this stage.
Interesting. Thank you, Debs. Well, because we are in the African music sector, I might have to believe that there'll be some kind of operations within how this copyright works that is unique or peculiar to our continent. So that will take me to my next question. I would like to pose this question to Jotam. So is there a way that you protect copyright, artists protect copyright in Africa that is different? And if it's not different, can you just talk about how artists protect their copyright?
Sorry, I keep on getting muted. So it is all the same with what Deborah has just explained. The only difference is that unlike in Europe, where you have the European Union, and then you have the laws that are almost similar other than the UK, in Africa, we have got 52 countries, and each country has got their own laws. So it depends on the country as to exactly how the copyright is protected. But in most countries, and like in South Africa, you don't necessarily need to have anything written, but like Deborah said, it makes life much easier if something is written down. You know, where you haven't written it down, you will have a huge problem, because when the song doesn't get popular, you won't have any problems. But the moment the song becomes very popular, you will see everybody and everyone coming and say, I was part of the song. And to make matters worse, the Act in South Africa says, if there's nothing which is written down, everybody who was in the studio at the time of recording has got a claim to the share. So if nothing is written down, and there were 20 people sitting in the studio when the song was being recorded, any one of them will have a share on that song, because nothing is written down, nothing is agreed. So like Deborah mentioned, it is extremely important that it gets written down, and that's the best way to do business in any case, because there's a saying that says, in business, you don't trust anybody, because things can go south, and you don't want things to go south and you don't have anything to hold on to. So it is particularly important that those splits are agreed and they are written down, and there's a signed document that you will have to keep in file.
Okay, so before I leave that question, thanks for the response. Would you say, is there a need for a lawyer to be present, or does that document have to be a document from a lawyer, or it could be any document?
Not necessarily. It's like here in South Africa, there's something that we call a split sheet. So the split sheet lists the contributors to the song and the agreed percentages. And I think in most cases where you don't agree, that's probably where you would have to consult a lawyer, but it doesn't necessarily need to, you don't necessarily need to consult a lawyer. You just need to agree in the studio, and then you agree who has contributed what. And in most cases, it's better to agree before, when you agree that now we have got all the components of this song, we are ready to record it, then you agree on the splits, you put them down, you put all the splits on the split sheet, and everybody has got their copy, and then the work gets done, and then after that, you're good. Then in the event of a dispute, that's only when you will need the lawyer to interpret the law based on the document that we'll be having. But otherwise, if you don't have a document, there will then have to be compromises for everybody who comes and claims. The moment you say, yes, the person was there when we recorded the song, then they contributed.
Wow. Thanks. That's some great information that you've given us there. I'd like to move to this next question, which goes to Ajimovoix. Ajimovoix is actively in the music industry in Nigeria. As a producer, he's produced for a lot of big artists, established artists, I will use that word. And he's contributed to a lot of career growth. And recently has scored a major global hit for himself, which Anara Publishing has worked upon for more success. So Ajimovoix, I would like to ask you this question. Why did you look for a publisher at this point of your career?
Actually, I found out that there is more to music. There's more to music aside distribution, and it goes beyond just making money from distribution. And publishing really enhanced and go beyond and touches down those parts distribution can really earn more money or help the career grow in other ends. So I decide to, at a point, at a particular point, you won't be able to make some steps. You won't be able to take some steps on your own. You won't be able to make some amendment to some mistakes, or how will I use that particular word, on your own, which I believe the publishing comes in both home and abroad. And doing that, it has really enhanced my craft generally. And I think I really need that vibe to my craft, because it's most of my sounds are I'm lucky, let me say I'm lucky to have trending sounds mostly at least twice or three times in a year. And I think it goes beyond where I stay. It goes beyond my boundaries, and I think publishing should come in.
That's quite interesting. So are you able to, tell us if you've been in a position whereby you collaborated with another artist, but didn't get any publishing rights?
Definitely, yes. You know how Nigerians do, like, I'm a producer. I've produced a couple of songs for artists where you don't even get split sheet for what you've done so far. You know, that is actually what really leads me to focus and concentrate on my personal self as a music producer and a songwriter on my own. So instead of making that badge, working out without these stuffs coming up, I decided to just work on myself instead.
I see. So do you think there's something, you would do differently in that regard moving forward, now that you're actually with the publisher?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, yes. Ever since I had my first project published, it has really enhanced the way I really work, and it has really added to the craft. Like, that's really impacted in my kind of way of working and my contribution to the music scene here in my country as well. Because I can't wait to have my stuffs added to games, movies, and others. So it has really impacted big time, a very big time.
All right, that's well. And because we have Jotam from South Africa, who is CEO of Capasso, a very reputable organization. Would you say, Ajimovoix, what's the take on regional collaborations? Collaborating with people from maybe say South African music industry, say Eastern African music industry, or other regions of the music sector in Africa. What's your take on that?
Yes, that's quite good, and I've been really looking up to doing that, and I really love to do that now. Once the paper is right and we have proper agreements, proper split sheets, proper legal and other stuff ready and accomplished, I think I'm good to go to work with anybody now.
Interesting. Thank you. Hi, Debs. Are you able to tell us, other than just a publisher collecting royalties from publishing side of the music composition for the artist, what else does a publisher do for the artist?
Yeah, first of all, I'm going to say that what Ajimovoix just said is music to my ears, that he's only going to collaborate with people and have split sheets and agreements in place. That makes my life a lot easier. But yeah, sort of, as well as all of like the collection and the royalty side of things that we've been talking about, music publishing encompasses a lot of different things, and we'll kind of work with our songwriters and artists as part of their team, really, depending on what they need from us. So if they want to, if they're working on a new album or a single and they want feedback on demos, that's something that we'll do and sort of talk about the songwriting process. If they want to collaborate with other people, then that's something that we set up as well globally. So we're talking to other publishers and labels and management companies here in the UK, and with our links in India and across Nigeria and across Europe. So thinking about like international collaborations for all of our songwriters as well. And then, yeah, I suppose something that we've not really spoken about yet is sync, which is the process of licensing music to film, TV, advertising, games, and any kind of like visual media, which is a big part of what we do here at Anara and a lot of publishing companies as well. So we've got a dedicated team that has a network of people working on the music for these kind of projects, and every day we're either getting briefs in from them where they're looking for particular songs and we'll pitch the right songs from our catalogue to them, or we're always researching different opportunities to pitch and find ways that our artist music can be used in different places and get exposure for them in different ways. And I think we'll probably talk about the sync that we've recently had with Focus Dance Beat in the Netflix film Chief Daddy 2, which came out earlier this month on Netflix. But kind of our role in that, we'll get Ajimovoix's perspective on it as well. But our role in that as a publisher is handling all of the paperwork side of things and the contract and making sure that the terms of usage are fair and are going to work well for the artist. So we'll always, be working on their side of things, making sure that they're paid the right fee, that, the terms and everything are all good. And we're there to sort of make sure the rights are all cleared and things like that. But yeah, maybe you want to talk to Ajimovoix about how that sync has kind of elevated his career on the artist perspective as well.
Yes, thank you, Debs. Ajimovoix, are you able to tell us a bit more about your recent sync, to Anara Publishing with the Chief Daddy 2 movie, which is a big movie, came out January 1st, 2022. Which is the part 2 to a big movie at a point in time, in the sector, which we're looking at this is going to be even bigger. You see what I'm saying? So please tell us a bit more about
it. It has been quite interesting. I will really say, you can see I'm smiling already. Getting that sync and getting that particular news at first, I was like, let's see how it goes. It's more like a nomination to an award. At least nomination is enough. At least we are getting stuff working, and the team popped up and they did their thing, and it popped up, and I really love what I saw at the end of the stuff, and it really, really encouraged me to do more. Ever since then, I've been putting so much effort to my sound, really, really working on myself, trying to make sounds that fit into almost every genre of every music, every category of gaming, football, every part, movies, and we're trying to just come up with sounds that can just fit into any category in the entertainment industry.
Does that mean that you see your relationship with Anara Publishing as a quick, impactful one? Because I realized you only just signed the deal with Anara Publishing within the last 6 months.
Definitely yes, and I think I'm seeing a more prosperous future as well.
All right, that's interesting. So if I may ask, Jotam, please, are you able to tell us, I understand that the structure within South African music industry helps, Capasso to represent artists over there easily. Is that something that is extended to artists from around here? Seeing that, music from here are now being consumed in South Africa.
So everyone who has got any music that is used in South Africa is free to choose whether they would like to be represented by a local Nigerian CMO who will then liaise with Capasso to collect the money and pay it over to them, or they can join Capasso directly and be represented by Capasso and then get paid directly. And I'm glad, as Ajimovoix is saying, with the music which is on all these digital platforms, Capasso has also obtained licenses with the VOD services, which means every time somebody watches that movie, and depending on the agreement that is there, if it is not a full buyout, a complete buyout, it means we can still be able to collect more royalties as that movie is being played wherever it is being played on the African continent. And I'm sure you might have seen the news yesterday that Disney is going to launch into 52 countries across the continent. And also the fact that Disney, despite having launched only last year, they already have surpassed Netflix in terms of subscriber numbers by 116 million worldwide, which means, and everybody knows how Disney movies are popular on our TV screens. When we look at our local TV screens, or even on MultiChoice, those movies are so popular. Everybody wants their kids to watch Disney movies because they are particularly done for children. And I foresee a huge boom in VOD or in video on demand as soon as Disney launches. And I'm glad to say, as Capasso, we are already in talks with Disney so that before they launch in June, we will have a license in place. So I think we're looking at it and seeing that. And, you know, I was reading the article and I was actually surprised that Disney is preferring to actually launch in more countries in Africa before really going in a rollout in Europe. And which means it shows a lot of potential that we have here on the African continent. And I think it's time that we look at it and grab the opportunity as it comes and be able to reap it as soon as it comes over in the next 6 months.
Thank you so much for that news. That's a great news, really super news. Thank you so much. So, Debs, what do you have to say, please, regarding what Jotam has said about Disney launching, and of course, the movie, whenever it plays, on African media, they can collect. What do you have to say from that?
Yeah, I think that's really great news. With Disney launching across Africa, it just goes to show that it's such an important market for a lot of big companies these days, and there's a lot of content being created, and that means that there's more opportunities out there for artists to have their music used. We've definitely seen, even in the pandemic, that worldwide, you've got your Netflix, Amazon, Disney, and all these big streaming services that are creating more content than ever before, which means that there's more and more opportunities for music to be used. So it's definitely positive steps in terms of publishing and sync. Yeah, that's one of them.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. I think, at this point, sadly, we would have to bring this session to an end. It's been such an impactful one so far, with everyone on here sharing great knowledge with us. Thank you for joining us to put this together. Deborah Smith of Anara Publishing Limited, which is a sister company to Horus Music. And also having to join us is Jotam. We're happy to have you, CEO of Capasso, sharing our understanding into how the continent is emerging in this music sector. And of course, I'm happy to have Ajimovoix on this call, who has just signed a sync deal, a very remarkable sync deal with Anara Publishing for Chief Daddy 2, the movie, which is a Netflix movie, huge one for Horus Music Nigeria. And I hope everyone who's been watching this session so far have been impacted one way or the other. And for more information, you can reach out to us. Our website will be displayed. Thank you so much, everyone.
Now, from me, just to say thank you very much for inviting me. It has been a very interesting discussion, and particularly, I'm so happy to see a creator being excited about the progress that he is making with his works. It is very encouraging, and I'm sure young creators that are watching would be encouraged by this.
Sure. Deb, have you got something to say?
Yeah, you can go to our website, which is anarapublishing.com, if you're interested in finding out a bit more about our services. And if you want to send us your music, there's a form on the contact page, and the team listens to everything that gets sent in. So yeah, please do share your music with us, and look forward to hearing from you all.
Ajimovoix, have you got something to say, please?
I'm just excited to be on this call, and that's all.
Interesting. So, music distribution done right is essential. As an artist, it's important for you to do your music distribution right. Ensure that you're working with the people that care about your content. And Horus Music is available there for you. If you want to work with us, it's horusmusic.global. And, you can also go there and see information about how we work and, other things that we can do for you aside just distributing music. We also market music. We've got something for everyone, the beginner, intermediary, and of course, the established artists. Thank you guys for hanging on with us throughout this discussion. Bye. See you guys later.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.